Hi, my name is Patrick Grennan. I'm here from One Medical, and I'm here to talk about FHIR-powered data reconciliation. Uh, Quickly, before I jump in on the topic, I want to give a little bit of background about One Medical and who I am. One Medical is a membership-based primary care platform with seamless digital health and in-office care. One of the things that is unique about us is that we are vertically integrated, so our technology is built in-house. This includes our patient-facing applications, 24/7 virtual care over video and chat, proprietary EMR that's optimized for team-based care. And underpinning this is an increasing usage of FHIR as a common data standard for use by teams in different parts of our business. A little bit about me. So my background's in machine learning. I've been at One Medical since 2014, and I'm the lead of the data platform team. I've previously led interoperability and a number of our other data-related teams. And so when we talk about data reconciliation, what this means, if you're not familiar with it, is the general idea of taking records from an outside system and reconciling them into the system of record. And so to put this a little more concretely, if you have some health system that goes and sees me for a routine checkup and gives me the flu vaccine, it's going to store structured data about that vaccine. What day it was, what vaccine it was, maybe who gave it, what the lot number of the vaccine was. And your health system will either be push that record or pull that record, but suffices to say you are going to get that record and receive that structured information about a vaccine. It might be coded as CCDA, maybe as FHIR, maybe as HL7. You're going to take that record and translate it into your internal format, and then you're going to reconcile the vaccine into the official vaccination record. And so what we're here to talk about is that last piece and how you use FHIR for that and the things that you need to know about FHIR for that. All the rest of this, of course, is like a huge world of interoperability that we're ignoring here. But for the sake of time, this is what we're going to talk about. And what we're going to talk about during that time is this one resource. This is an immunization record ripped straight from the US Core example page for immunization. I made a little bit of edits for the sake of brevity so that it all fits on this page, and also for the sake of showing all the features of FHIR that you can use to power your reconciliation. So we're going to first start with the meta field. The meta field is the most useful area for provenance. Now, of course, there is another provenance resource, and that has even more information about the provenance of a record. But even just keeping version ID, last updated, and source current and up to date in your records can be incredibly valuable for people looking back through the history of a record. Now, if you don't have access to writing provenance records, you can also use this through tags to store things like who reconciled it, what version of the software reconciled it, if this is an automated reconciliation versus a human-driven reconciliation. While tags are obviously not the ideal solution, this is definitely a case, and really reconciliation in general is you don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good when you can collect additional metadata. The more that you can collect and the more information and context you can provide for it, ultimately, the more confidently you're going to be able to deploy reconciliation solutions. So next up, what we're going to talk about is the identifier. And so what we're talking about here is the ID field and the identifier array of objects that exists in every resource. The simple tip on this is straight from the FHIR spec and this FHIR docs. This is to assign your own ID, but keep the original in the identifier field. The more that you can keep the identifier that is assigned through every step of the way, oftentimes in the flow of interoperability, a couple different unique identifiers might be assigned to a specific record. The more that you can keep those around, the easier that it'll be to debug where this thing came from, who actually published it, who is the original upstream source of this, and also allows you to do future deduplication based on that identifier as well. Next, we have the status field. Now, this is not a standard field in every single resource, but many do exist in different resources with states that map to the life cycles of those resources. The tip on this is that it can often be used to facilitate manual reconciliation or redaction of records. This gives a way to provide a little more nuance to the life cycle of the immunization or any resource for that matter, in a way that can work well with the human workflows and point of care workflows. Next up is coding. So vaccine code is, of course, specific to immunization, but many resources have a coding or a codable concept in some way attached to it. The tip on this is to profile. I use profile in air quotes here because you can either do it formally, building real structure definitions, or informally, just writing down here the code sets that we always want to exist in our resources. But the more important thing is that you just do that exercise somewhere, because what you can do is use these code sets to deduplicate records. Obviously, ontologies, code sets, walking up and down the graph or walking through the graph of a ontology is a whole topic in and of itself with respect to reconciliation. But for the purposes of this, just knowing what codes that you have and what codes you're requiring is a huge step forward. Just making sure that it's right is gonna plant the seeds for the logic that you need to do reconciliation effectively. Next up is references. So when we talk about references, we're really talking about absolute references being problematic when reconciling. Just rewrite them. That's really just the simple tip on references, is that you want to rewrite them to references in your own internal FHIR server or your own internal system. This is ultimately business logic. We found this to be best implemented outside of your core server logic, because how exactly you rewrite those references can be a little different depending on whether you're getting a bundle or a single record, or you're doing things out of band. It asks more of the clients for sure, but it ultimately delivers a cleaner solution. But above all, making sure that those references resolve is, of course, incredibly important when reconciling records. Finally, we have all the other fields. And so our tip on this is just to fill them all out. The more specific that you are, the better. Some things like primary source in the immunization record can be leveraged for providing more information about the provenance of a record. But even things like a choice element that could be a datetime or a string, making it the most specific thing that you can is going to be beneficial for your deduplication logic and just create better data for downstream consumers. Finally, the last piece that I want to emphasize about reconciliation is that it really helps to think about it as a data pipeline. And from this, you can borrow some of the concepts from data warehousing and data systems in general, like keeping around every record version forever, guarding against duplication, and designing the system to be run multiple times with no or limited side effects. Doing these couple things will make your life much, much easier when designing your reconciliation system, and will ultimately make it safer to deploy and run in a way that requires less human intervention. And that's all. Thank you.